You're like no other babe ever born.
You're fabulous, babe.
There was the 1970s perfume counter, glass bottles, shiny atomizers, and clouds of fragrance floating through department stores. Here are 13 iconic 1970s perfumes that defined a generation. 1. Rive Gauche.
Rive Gauche, the right perfume from the left bank of Paris. Rive Gauche, by Yves Saint Laurent.
If the 1970s had a perfume for the effortlessly cool woman, it was Rive Gauche. This was the scent of someone who looked like she knew exactly where she was going, even if nobody else did. It had that slightly rebellious Parisian attitude that Yves Saint Laurent made famous.
There she goes, that independent woman.
Rive Gauche perfume, designed for
The girl who's so contemporary, she's having too much fun.
Women who wore it seemed confident without trying too hard. The kind of person who wore sunglasses indoors, carried herself like she belonged everywhere, and always looked just a little ahead of the trend. Even today, people remember it as the fragrance that captured the idea of the modern woman. 2. Charlie.
There's a fragrance that's here today and they call it Charlie. A different fragrance that thinks your way, yeah, they call it Charlie. Kinda young, kinda now, Charlie. Kinda free, kinda wow, Charlie.
Charlie wasn't just a perfume, it was a statement.
There's a fragrance that's here today and they call it Charlie.
The ads showed women wearing pantsuits, walking confidently through city streets, and doing something that still felt fresh at the time, living independently. Charlie smelled bright, modern, and easy to wear. It wasn't fussy or overly formal. It felt casual in a way that matched the changing world around it. For a lot of women in the 70s, Charlie became the scent of independence. 3. Aviance.
I've been sweet and I've been good. I've had a whole full day of motherhood, but I'm gonna have an Aviance night.
Prince Machiavelli brings you Aviance, a radiant perfume that lasts through the night.
Some perfume commercials fade away. This one didn't. The night belongs to Aviance. If you heard that line once, it stayed in your head forever. Aviance felt dramatic and mysterious, like the perfume someone wore when the evening really began. The kind of scent that made you think of dim lights, music, and people arriving at parties just as the night was getting interesting. Even people who never owned the bottle remember the phrase. 4. Chloé.
Chloé is romance. Chloé is flowers. Chloé, the glorious fragrance by Karl Lagerfeld. Spray it on anywhere. Touch it on everywhere. Revel in it day or night.
Chloé carried a completely different energy. Soft, elegant, powdery, quietly luxurious. It had the kind of scent that seemed to float gently through a room rather than announce itself loudly. The woman wearing it always seemed polished, graceful, and slightly untouchable. If Rive Gauche was the cool girl, Chloé was the rich girl. And somehow the fragrance made that distinction instantly clear. 5. Ciara.
Isn't that Ciara?
What does it remind you of?
You smell terrific.
Ciara was a perfume that felt unmistakably grown-up. Warm, deep, and a little mysterious, it carried the kind of glamour people associated with evening events and elegant dinners. For younger people growing up in the 70s, Ciara was often the first scent that made them think, "That smells sophisticated." It was the fragrance that made you imagine long dresses, dim lighting, and someone important walking into the room. 6. Opium.
Opium.
Few perfumes caused as much conversation as Opium. The name alone sparked controversy when it launched, and suddenly everyone was talking about it. But the scent itself was even more memorable. Rich, dark, dramatic, and intense. It didn't try to blend in. Even people who never wore Opium knew exactly what it was. It had a reputation, a personality, and a presence that made it impossible to ignore. For many people, Opium wasn't just a fragrance, it was an event. If you enjoy rediscovering the everyday things that defined the past, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube and follow me on Facebook. I post new nostalgia videos every week, and chances are one of them will remind you of something you haven't thought about in years. 7. Halston.
When Holston gives a present, it's like no other present in the world. Elegant, glamorous, sexy, and very, very special. You can share the Halston mystique and even give it as a gift.
Halston perfume felt like New York nightlife in a bottle. It carried the same sleek, stylish energy that surrounded Studio 54, smooth, fashionable, and undeniably glamorous. The scent had that polished confidence that matched the designer's aesthetic perfectly. People who wore it seemed like they belonged in places with velvet ropes and mirrored walls. It smelled expensive, it smelled fashionable, and it smelled like the 1970s at their most glamorous. 8. Babe.
You're like no other babe ever born.
You're fabulous, babe.
You know how to reach out and show your love, babe.
You're fabulous, babe.
You're one of the boys, but you're a real girl,
You're
babe.
fabulous, babe.
You're a beautiful thing to be close to, babe.
Babe was the opposite of serious. Bright, playful, and full of personality, it felt like the perfume someone wore when they wanted to have fun and be noticed.
Your eyes really turn me on,
You
babe.
look fabulous, babe.
Where did you get those luscious lips,
You
babe?
look fabulous, babe.
You're the best-looking babe ever born.
You look fabulous, babe.
And oh, how I love to see you blush, babe.
The scent matched the decade perfectly, bold, confident, and just a little bit cheeky. For many people, Babe represented the lighter side of the 70s, when perfume didn't have to feel formal to make an impression. 9. Tigress.
Vivian, you're a born tigress. You're joking. No, you are a tigress. You present a very cool, efficient exterior. That's typical of a tigress, but you're very objective about everyday problems. You know why?
Why?
Well, because the one thing that's important to a tigress is
Vivian is a tigress.
Tigress was bold. The name alone suggested confidence, attitude, and a little bit of wild energy. This wasn't the scent someone wore quietly. It had presence, the kind of fragrance that made an entrance the moment someone walked into a room. It carried the feeling of a night out, loud music, bright lights, and people dressed to be seen, and it definitely wasn't shy. 10. Nina Ricci, L'air du temps.
Comme un rêve charmant, rêve éveillé, né dans un reflet. L'air du temps, c'est une vie enchantée.
Some perfumes feel timeless, and this one is a perfect example. L'air du temps had a softness that made it feel romantic and classic. It was the kind of scent associated with elegance, the perfume someone might wear to a wedding, a dinner party, or any moment that felt a little special. Even as trends changed through the decades, this fragrance kept its place. For many families, it became one of those scents that instantly brings back memories of someone important. 11. Anaïs Anaïs. When Anaïs Anaïs arrived near the end of the 1970s, it brought a fresh energy with it. Light, floral, and youthful, it felt different from the heavier perfumes earlier in the decade. It became incredibly popular with younger women, especially those looking for something soft and romantic rather than bold and dramatic. For many people, this was the scent of first perfumes and first grown-up moments. 12. Naté After Bath Splash.
Naté After Bath Splash is for people who want to take charge of their life. It makes your body and your mind so fresh, so new. You get the feeling there's nothing you can't do.
Naté wasn't used like a typical perfume. It was poured, After showers, people would splash it generously across their shoulders and arms, filling the entire bathroom with its bright citrus scent. It became a ritual, the final step after getting ready. If you walked through the house and smelled gin naté drifting down the hallway, you knew someone had just taken a shower and was getting ready for the day. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these perfumes do you remember? Or which one did someone in your family wear? 13. Youth Dew. Youth Dew might be one of the most powerful memory triggers of them all. Originally introduced years earlier, it became a defining scent for many mothers during the 1970s. Warm, rich, and unmistakable, it lingered in the air long after someone left the room. For many people today, catching a hint of Youth Dew instantly brings back childhood memories, watching a parent get ready in the mirror, hearing the soft spray of perfume, and knowing something important was about to happen. Sometimes a scent becomes more than fragrance. Sometimes it becomes a memory. Perfume has always been personal, but the fragrances of the 1970s did something special. They became part of the atmosphere of the decade itself. They filled department stores. They drifted through dance floors. They lingered in hallways and living rooms. And even decades later, one small spray can bring it all rushing back. Everything I featured today is linked in the description below. Go check it out. If this took you back, click the one on your screen. It's all the iconic 1970s perfumes that defined a generation.